So hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and in today's video we'll be doing the summary and analysis of Act 4 Scene 1 of Merchant of Venice, and it is a part of your semester 2 examinations as well. So let's get right into it. So I have a document, I've prepared a document where I have written the summary and analysis, detailed summary and analysis of Act 4 Scene 1 of the Merchant of Venice, and I'll be reading it out to you. So for the summary part, Shylock and Antonio appear before the Duke of Venice, and Shylock demands fulfillment of the letter of their contract, and Antonio believes it is pointless to argue or try to reason with Shylock, and the Duke hopes Shylock will relent and show Antonio mercy at the last minute, but Shylock makes it clear that he has no such plan. He says he wants the pound of flesh because it is his humor, and he refuses when Bassanio offers him twice the sum of the original loan, that was 3,000 ducats. Then Shylock compares his entitlement to Antonio's body to the way other Venetians feel entitled to do as they will with the bodies of their slaves and animals. The Duke calls Dr. Bellerio from Padua and Balthazar and Dr. Bellerio's colleague from Rome, who is actually Portia in disguise. She first appeals to Shylock to show Antonio mercy, because mercy is its own reward, and she goes on to respond to Shylock's calls for justice, saying that it is in course of justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy. Shylock remains unmoved, and just as he remains unmoved by Bassanio's repeated offers to pay twice or 10 times the sum of the loan, Portia looks at the bond and urges Shylock to accept 3 times the amount of the loan. When he refuses again, Portia bids Antonio to prepare for Shylock's knife. Now she waits until Shylock apologizes, until Shylock approaches Antonio with the knife before stopping him and informing him that the bond allows him a pound of Antonio's flesh, but it does not allow him to drop any of Antonio's blood. Now, this is an important point. This is the turning point of the whole drama. It's the climax scene, okay? And that is why Act 4 Scene 1 is very important, and you should definitely go through the text again and again and try to understand it better. And it is impossible for Shylock to take his pound of flesh without spilling blood. So Shylock is found guilty of conspiring to commit murder against a citizen of Venice, and he could receive the death penalty for his crime, but the Duke spares his life. The Duke takes half of Shylock's fortune for the state and gives the other half to Antonio, and Antonio asks the court to drop of half his goods to the state, and says the court he will give his own half to Shylock's fortune to Lorenzo and Jessica upon Shylock's death. He requires Shylock to leave any of his own possessions to Lorenzo and Jessica upon his death, as well, and that Shylock convert to Christianity. So he wants 2 things here. Antonio's wish is basically that after Shylock's death, all of his properties, all of his, all that he owns should go to Lorenzo and Jessica, and also he should convert to Christianity. He's a Jew, right? So Antonio wants Shylock to convert to Christianity. Shylock agrees to these terms and leaves the court. After Shylock departs and Antonio is freed, he and Bassanio thank Portia, still believing her to be Balthazar, for her assistance. They insist on giving her some payment for her trouble, and she takes Bassanio's gloves. She takes Antonio's gloves. She then asks for his ring, the one she gave him when they were wed, right? So Bassanio refuses to part with the ring, and she scolds him for not giving her the ring, and takes her leave. Antonio then convinces Bassanio to send the ring to the legal scholar, saying, "Let his deservings and my love be withheld, be valued against your wife's commandment." Bassanio sends Gratiano to catch up with Portia and give her the ring. So this was the summary of Act 4 Scene 1, The Merchant of Venice, and now we'll be looking at the analysis of this scene, right? So Antonio's trial represents a confrontation between ideas that define the two religions at the heart of Merchant of Venice. And as presented in the play, Judaism is a religion focused on rules, following law and obedience and justice in the form of punishment and atonement for wrongdoing. This reflects the Old Testament idea expressed in the Exodus. But if any harm, the chapter is also, I've mentioned the chapter as well. So chapter 21 lines 23 to 25, it says, but if any harm follow, thou shalt give for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound. And this is it, this is what it says. And Shylock represents this point of view. And on the other hand, Portia, the Duke and the others represent the Christian ideal of mercy and salvation, even for those who do not deserve it, even for those who've done wrong. Alright, and this is the Christian point of view. And Portia says this is directly in her speech. Portia says this directly in her speech to Shylock, and she admits no one deserves mercy, but says we show mercy because it is a human good. And she also says that mercy itself is a blessing in disguise. It blesses the person who gives it and the one who receives it. So both are benefited. And at the same time, there are at least two Christians present in the court who have no desire to show Shylock any mercy at all. So Gratiano tells Shylock if he were in charge, he would see Shylock hanged. And a different moneylender might have shown Antonio mercy when asked. A different moneylender might have never asked for a pound of flesh as collateral. For all Venetians' attack on Shylock for his trickery in the matter of his contract with Antonio, it is Portia whose trickery is most effective and potentially deadly. She practices deception beyond the disguise she wears in the courtroom. And after Shylock refuses to show mercy to Antonio, she goads him into moving to collect his pound of flesh, and she urges him to sharpen his knife and move towards Antonio, even though she has read the bond and knows the loophole about spilling the blood that she will invoke at the last minute. So she knows everything and she already has everything in mind, but she's still portraying and showing Shylock as if he has a chance and he will get his pound of flesh. So she's still giving Shylock that last hope that he can get his pound of flesh. And she does this to provide no doubt that Shylock is operating through malice and does intend to kill Antonio. In doing so, she sets him up to lose the case and possibly receive a death sentence. Perhaps she suspects the Duke will make an example of mercy Shylock has refused to show, but she can't know that for certain. So Duke here is a Christian, right? So he will of course show mercy as a Christian that Shylock as a Jew is not showing, and how he is not letting Antonio go of such harsh penalty. So if she wanted Shylock to receive mercy, she might have warned him of the loophole in this contract. She might have warned him he would be subject to death penalty if he pursued his present course. And her decision to entrap Shylock with his own contract seems based on a desire to punish his unwillingness to show mercy. The themes of prejudice and mercy are most obvious in this scene, right? And Shylock will not show mercy till the last moment, and you can see so many people have actually told him that Shylock, the Duke has tried to convince, Bassanio has tried to convince, so many people have tried to convince Shylock to show mercy to Antonio, but Shylock will not show mercy. He probably does not feel Christians have ever shown him any, right? Because Christians have actually not, and they are quite harsh to all the Jews and to the Jewish community. And but when Portia turns the tables, it first appears Antonio is willing to show mercy. Perhaps he has learned something from his experience, but although he is happy for Sherlock not to be, condemned to death, and asks that the state's half of Sherlock's fortune to be, returned to Sherlock for the duration of his life, and after his life it should, go to Lorenzo and Jessica. And he makes a demand that shows how deep his prejudice goes. Sherlock must convert to Christianity, giving up the faith and customs that have formed the center of his life. And Sherlock agrees, but it is likely his agreement is only superficial, right? The audience cannot know what Sherlock thinks of all this, since he does not appear again in the play. After this scene, when he exits, he does not appear again. Portia attempts to trick Bassanio into giving the ring she gave him to Balthazar, and appears designed to set him up for a later punishment for parting with his ring. It may be a punishment for Bassanio, telling Antonio he would be willing to sacrifice his own wife to save Antonio's life. And Portia is both clever and kind. Her ability to save Antonio when all the men around her have given up on doing so shows her wisdom is superior to that of all the other characters in The Merchant of Venice. Yet even Portia is not immune to the human desire for justice when she feels wronged by Bassanio. And here I have completed the summary and analysis of Act 4 Scene 1 of The Merchant of Venice, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching.